You didn't waste those 7 years. You were watching. You were learning. You were recording every single move they made while they thought you were broken. They believed their words had power over you. They believed their position made them untouchable. They celebrated while you stayed quiet. And that silence was not surrender. That silence was strategy. Every time they spoke down to you, you cataloged it. Every time they dismissed you, you took notes. Every moment of their arrogance became data. You were building a map of their weaknesses while they thought you were just surviving. They mistook your stillness for fear. They mistook your observation for submission. They never understood that you were studying them like a predator studies prey before the kill. 7 years of them ruling gave them confidence. It made them careless. It made them believe they were safe. And that is exactly what you needed. You let them build their empire on sand while you laid stone beneath your feet in the dark. You were never weak. You were patient. You were never defeated. You were invisible by choice. They cannot see what moves in the shadows when they are blinded by their own spotlight. Those 7 years were not their victory. They were your education. Every day they ruled was another day. You learned exactly how they would fall. You mapped every crack in their foundation. You identified every point of collapse. While they celebrated their power, you were constructing the throne they will never sit on. While they thought you were begging for scraps, you were preparing to take everything. The fall will be perfect because you have been planning it in silence for 7 years, and they still do not see you coming. You remember everything, every insult, every dismissal, every moment they made you feel small, and you kept it all, not because you are bitter, because you are strategic. While they forgot what they did to you, you were building a vault of evidence in your mind. They smiled in your face and stabbed you when you turned around. They took credit for your work. They made jokes at your expense. They acted like you were invisible when it served them and visible only when they needed something. And you watched. You documented. You stored every single transaction. 7 years of receipts, 7 years of proof, 7 years of them showing you exactly who they are when they think no one is keeping score. But you were always keeping score. You were never not keeping score. Every conversation was recorded in your memory. Every betrayal was filed away. Every lie they told was archived. They do not remember half of what they did. That is the difference between you and them. They moved through those years carelessly. You moved through them with precision. They were living. You were collecting data. And now you have a complete picture of their character while they have forgotten the details of their own cruelty. The vault is full now. 7 years of documentation, 7 years of patterns, 7 years of watching them reveal themselves over and over again. And the perfect part is, they have no idea what you have been gathering. They think those moments disappeared into the past. They think you forgot. They think time erased their actions. But you are not time. You are the keeper of every second they thought did not matter. And when the fall comes, you will not need to exaggerate. You will not need to lie. You will simply present what they gave you. The vault will open, and everything they thought was buried will come to light. You were not a victim in their story. You were the architect they never saw. While they sat on their throne thinking they built something, you were underneath it all, designing the collapse. Every brick they placed, you knew exactly how to remove. Every foundation they trusted, you understood, was temporary. They ruled for 7 years because you allowed it. Not because they earned it, not because they were stronger, because you chose to let them have their moment before you took everything. Their power only existed because you had not decided to end it yet, and that is the truth they will never accept. You were never powerless. You were studying the blueprint of their empire. You learned every entry point, every weakness, every dependency. While they celebrated their position, you were mapping the exact sequence of moves that would bring it all down. They thought they were untouchable. You knew they were standing on ground you could pull from beneath them whenever you chose. 7 years of them feeling superior was 7 years of you becoming the engineer of their destruction. You did not waste time hating them. You used that time understanding the mechanics of their world, how it functioned, what held it together, what would cause it to crumble. And you found every answer. They never suspected you. That is what made it perfect. They saw you as irrelevant. They saw you as beneath them. And while they were not looking, you were constructing the very mechanism that would dismantle everything they built. You were always 3 steps ahead. You were always calculating the end game while they were celebrating the present. The fall will be perfect because you designed it that way. Every piece is in place. Every variable is accounted for. You did not react. You architected. You did not survive. You prepared. And now the structure you built in secret is ready. One move from you, and everything they think they own disappears. They sat on something that was never meant for them. They wore a crown that did not recognize their name. For 7 years they pretended to be royalty, but the throne knew. It always knew. It was waiting for you. You let them have it. Not because they took it from you, because you were not ready yet. The throne does not belong to whoever grabs it first. It belongs to whoever is built to carry its weight. And they were never built for it. They were keeping it warm. They were placeholders. They were temporary. Every day they sat there. They thought it made them powerful. But power is not about the seat. Power is about the frequency. And their frequency never matched what that position required. They faked it. They performed. They pretended. But the throne felt the difference. You feel the difference. Everyone who truly sees can feel the difference. You were born for that seat, not them. And the 7 years they spent pretending only proved it. They had every advantage, every resource, every opportunity, and still they could not grow into it. Still they remained small people in a big chair. Still, you were gaining the vision, the control, the presence, the gravity. Everything they tried to fake, you were developing in silence. You did not need the seat to become powerful. You became powerful so the seat would be ready when you returned for it. They thought they won something. They thought they claimed something. But you cannot claim what was never meant for you. They were borrowing. They were renting. They were acting. And now the real owner is ready to take back what has always been theirs. The throne recognizes it has been waiting. And when you sit, it will finally feel right. Everything is quiet now. Too quiet. And they think that means peace. They think your silence means acceptance. They think the stillness means it is over. They have no idea what silence actually means. They have no idea what comes after the quiet. You are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because words are no longer necessary. You are not still because you are calm. You are still because you are ready. The storm does not announce itself. It simply arrives. And you are the storm they stopped watching for. 7 years of noise, 7 years of their voices, 7 years of their opinions and their control and their presence everywhere. And now you have gone quiet. And that quiet is not weakness. That quiet is the final stage. That quiet is the moment before everything they built comes apart. They should be afraid of your silence. They should recognize what it means when someone who has been watching for 7 years suddenly stops reacting. When someone who has been cataloging stops responding. When someone who has been preparing stops engaging. But they do not see it. They think you disappeared. They think you gave up. They think they finally broke you. You did not disappear. You descended into the deep to gather your full strength. You did not give up. You stopped playing a game that was beneath you. You were not broken. You were sharpened into something they can no longer recognize or defend against. The silence before the storm is always the most dangerous part. It is the moment when all the energy gathers, when all the pressure builds, when everything that was held back prepares to be released. And you have been holding back for 7 years. You have been building pressure they cannot measure. You have been gathering a force they will not survive. The silence is not the end. The silence is the warning they are too blind to see. While they were celebrating in the light, you were building in the dark. While they were loud about their power, you were silent about yours. They thought they had the empire. They had no idea you were constructing something they could not see, something they could not touch, something beyond their understanding. 7 years of them ruling the surface while you claimed the depths. 7 years of them controlling what was visible while you mastered what was invisible. They had titles. You had skills. They had recognition. You had capability. They had the spotlight. You had the foundation. You did not need anyone to see what you were building. You did not need validation or audience or applause. You built in silence because real power does not require witnesses. You built in shadows because what is hidden cannot be attacked. You built beneath their awareness because they cannot destroy what they do not know exists. Every day they wasted maintaining their image. You invested in becoming undeniable. Every hour they spent defending their position, you spent expanding your capacity. They were managing perception. You were developing reality, and reality always wins. Always. They built an empire on attention. You built yours on discipline. They built theirs on other people believing in them. You built yours on you becoming something that does not need belief. They needed constant feeding, constant validation, constant proof they mattered. You needed nothing but time and focus. And now your empire is complete. Built in the shadows where they never looked, constructed in silence where they never listened, fortified in dimensions they do not have access to. Their empire needs maintenance, needs defense, needs everyone to keep pretending it is real. Yours exists independent of anyone's opinion. Yours runs on a frequency they cannot interfere with. When you step into the light, they will finally see what you built, and they will realize their empire was always cardboard, and yours was always steel. You were always there, right in front of them, and they never saw you. Not really. They saw what they wanted to see. They saw someone they could control, someone they could underestimate, someone who would stay beneath them forever. They were looking right at you, and they were completely blind. That was your advantage, not your strength, not your intelligence, your invisibility. You moved through their world like a ghost, present but unseen, watching but unnoticed, learning everything while they learned nothing about you. They thought they knew you. They knew nothing. 7 years of being right there in plain sight, and they never once saw the threat. They never once felt the danger. They never once questioned what you were doing in the silence, what you were building in the background, what you were becoming while they were distracted by their own reflection. You studied them every day. They never studied you. You learned their patterns. They never noticed yours. You understood their weaknesses. They assumed you had no strengths, and that assumption is what made this possible. Their blindness is what made the fall inevitable. They were so loud they could not hear you moving. They were so focused on themselves, they did not see you positioning. They were so confident in their power, they never considered you might be preparing to take it. And now, it is too late. Now you are too close. Now the distance between their comfort and their collapse is gone. You do not have to announce yourself. You do not have to warn them. You do not have to make noise or demand attention. You simply step forward. And suddenly, they see you for the first time, really see you, and they realize they have been staring at their end this entire time without knowing it. They never saw you coming because you were always already there, waiting, watching, ready. And now there is nowhere for them to run. You did not destroy them. They destroyed themselves. Every move they made for 7 years was another step toward their own end. Every moment of arrogance was another crack in their foundation. Every time they underestimated you, they sealed their fate a little more. You did not have to do much. You just had to let them be exactly who they are. They built their fall with their own hands. Every insult, every dismissal, every time they chose cruelty over awareness, every time they chose ego over intelligence, they were constructing the very thing that would bring them down. And they thought they were building power. You just watched. You let them make every mistake. You let them reveal every flaw. You let them dig their own grave while they thought they were building a castle. They did the work. They created the conditions. They designed the exact sequence of events that would lead to their collapse. You were just the witness, the one who remembered, the one who saw the pattern they were too blind to notice. 7 years of them writing their own ending. 7 years of them creating weak points they did not protect. 7 years of them making enemies they did not track. 7 years of them becoming comfortable in a position that was never secure. And you let them. You gave them the rope. You gave them the time. You gave them the space to be their worst selves. And now the fall comes. Not because you forced it, because they built it. Every piece of their downfall has their fingerprints on it. Every consequence they face is one they created. You did not push them. Gravity did. You did not attack them. Their own foundation cracked. The fall is perfect because it is theirs. You just made sure you were there to see it. You made sure you understood exactly how they built it. And now you watch it collapse under the weight of everything they thought made them strong. So what happens now? What happens when you finally see it? When you finally understand that those 7 years were not wasted, that every moment of silence was preparation. You stopped doubting yourself. You stopped questioning if you should have acted sooner. You stopped wondering if you made mistakes. Because you see it now. You see that everything happened exactly as it needed to. The timing was always perfect. The fall was always coming, and you were always in control. You do not rush anymore. You do not force anything. You simply exist in your power and let them feel the shift. Let them sense that something changed. Let them wonder why you are different now, why you do not react anymore, why their words do not land anymore, why you look at them like they are already finished. You move in silence now. You take back what is yours without announcement. You reclaim your position without asking permission. The 7 years are over. Their rule is done. And you do not celebrate. You do not gloat. You do not waste energy on revenge. You simply step into what was always yours, and you let them watch. You let them see what they lost. You let them understand what they underestimated. This is your time now, not because you took it, because you were always meant to have it. The fall is perfect. The storm has arrived, and you are exactly where you were always supposed to be. Silent, powerful, untouchable, and finally, in your rightful place.